until the British decided they wanted our land. The men were called to a meeting and then imprisoned. They demanded we swear an oath to their king and took everything, regardless. We were forced from Acadie, the only home we knew. Mon Acadie n'existera plus.
From 1755 to 1763, over 10,000 Acadians were ripped from their homeland. Despite this, Acadian culture endures in Atlantic Canada.
Hey!
The lift wasn't working and he was in pain, so I tried to lift him on my own. Yes, it's bad. I'll need help.
Can I help you with that?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Workplace injuries hurt the most at home.
Blood in the urine is the most common symptom of bladder cancer. Don't ignore this warning sign, not even once.
Hello everybody, my name is Jason Piercey and this is Out of the Fog. Now, I know Out of the Fog and Rogers Television, we talk about our entire wonderful province, the whole smiling land. But our studio, and I myself personally, live in and around the St. John's area. So today, we're going to talk about what's happening in the city of St. John's. More specifically, we're going to have a full-length feature interview with the one and only His Worship, Mayor Danny Breen. We'll be right back after this.
You're watching Rogers TV, St. John's.
We got a mission.
That sounds like the bad guys teaming up.
It's only just begun.
Whoa.
You're watching Rogers TV, St. John's.
Welcome back to Out of the Fog. Ladies and gentlemen, His Worship, our lovely and talented and handsome and a little bit charming mayor, Mayor Danny Breen. Good day, sir.
Hey, Jason, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. So there's a couple of interesting things going on in the city of St. John's right now, which is why I wanted to have this sort of feature-length interview with a man of your stature. Let's start with local sports teams, because that was big.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's always been an issue in the city since Mile 1 was opened. Wasn't open for very long, and the St. John's Maple Leafs left. We then went through a Quebec Major Junior Hockey League franchise came in, the Fog Devils, which lasted for 2 or 3 seasons, and then the Ice Caps came, and the Ice Caps were a huge success, and then it changed from Winnipeg to a Montreal farm team, and then was relocated. So there's always been this concern amongst the fans here in the city that, our teams seem to come in and then leave. So we, when we were negotiating the lease with the Growlers and the Edge, we really wanted to try to get some certainty to this. So we were able to negotiate a lease with a 10-year duration one that was acceptable to the teams and to the city and St. John Sports and Entertainment. So it's a good thing. It gives certainty to the teams and certainty to the fans, and allows us to look at our plans for Mile 1 and the Convention Centre in a longer lens.
Yeah, because I mean, if we're talking about something that is I can only assume Mile 1 and the Convention Centre are very expensive to maintain, to run. There's upgrades. There's an extension fairly recently.
Right.
Being able to block things out over 10 years as opposed to a 2-year lease gives you a better idea of how you need to invest into that.
Yeah, 60 nights of entertainment when you have the building going for 60 nights makes a big difference to the downtown, makes big difference to the staffing there. We have a lot of part-time employees, students and retirees who work there. And so being able to give them that definitive outlook is good too. If you look at Mile 1, outside of sporting events, you look at concerts, and concerts are kind of out of your control a bit because, it depends on who's touring. It depends on who's touring in this area. And so it gets a bit, it's a bit difficult to predict. So this gives us time, too, to look at our business model there to see if we need to make adjustments to that, and to see how we can drive more activity and more revenue from Mile 1 and the Convention Centre.
Yeah, so let's talk about this from the city's perspective, because I think everybody in their own head has an idea of what it means to them that the Edge or the Growlers will be here for 10 years, especially like Kelly Cup champions. The Edge are solid team, and the fan base will grow, and there'll be increasing loyalty, and there'll be a community sort of feel. That's what it means, I think, to the people who live in and around here. What does it mean to the city, though? Like, and it's okay to be political about this. It's okay to be fiscally responsible in your answer. Like, what does this mean to the city?
Well, what they mean is a piece of important economic infrastructure to the city. Having two teams here, two professional sports teams, gives us a profile. It gives us, if you look at when the Leafs training camp was here, I watched the exhibition game. I happened to be doing something that night, got home in time to watch it on TV. And, the shots to and from were panning into St. John's Harbour and introducing St. John's to the rest of the country. So that kind of exposure is really important. In terms of the downtown, it gives life to the downtown. If you're down there on a game night, you see
trying
the
to
activity.
drive down Gower.
Yeah, and the bars and restaurants, they're doing well. The taxi drivers are doing well. Hotels are doing well from it. So it's good. So it really is an important part, and that's what they were built for. They were built for the reason to generate economic activity downtown, and that's what we need to make sure that they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, it feeds a lot of families.
It does.
Right? When downtown St. John's is busy, a lot of people are working.
Yeah, and it's just the activity. Downtowns are supposed to be vibrant. They're supposed to have a lot of activity going on. Right now downtown, we have a couple of exciting new developments, a new office building there next to the Murray premises on Water Street, and of course the Jag Hotel expansion along with the Performance Theatre, which is going to revitalize that end of Water Street as well. So these are exciting projects.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about downtown, because the whole brand along the dig, cleaning up Water Street, all of that work, people, I don't want to, I might sound a little bit frustrated by it, and I don't want to be, because I want people to understand where I'm coming from. It seems sometimes like it's really easy from the outside to get a look at something and say, well, I don't like this. This is inconvenient for me. We don't have to do this. Everything was fine. All these people are losing business, blah, blah, blah. But like, these aren't 2, 3, 6, 12, 24-month decisions. No. These are long-term plans for the betterment of a municipality, no?
Yeah. Well, the work has to be done, and the underground infrastructure needed to be upgraded. The original plan was to do a traditional style, where we would take the whole thing, just go ahead and do it, and the length of time that it took to do it would be longer. But it'd be continuous work, continuous tear up. The business community expressed a lot of concern with that.
Understandably so.
Understandably, and we went back and looked at it and looked at how we could phase it to make it more reasonable for the businesses. And so we've broken it into a number of phases. We've got 2 done. We'll have the 3rd one will be going ahead this year. We learn from each one what we need to do, and the 2nd one went better than the 1st one. So we're hoping that the 3rd one goes better than the 2nd one. And that's what you do, because you get feedback at the end of it, and you do the best job you can. And I think if you go through the first 2 phases and look at what's happened on Water Street, and look at the new sidewalks, the bump outs.
Oh, they look good.
And we're now looking at improving the lighting in the downtown area. We've got a group of from staff and the community that are looking at what kind of lighting is best to improve down there.
Oh.
We have the new parking systems coming in. You know, and we've got a downtown St. John's being revitalized and working towards an improved BIA, Business Improvement Association downtown. So there's a lot of things that got to happen before we can really move the downtown to where it should be.
So, of course, and my day job, we'll say, is in real estate. So I spend a lot of time thinking about things from that perspective. And we may have had some of these conversations before while we were being fancy in St. Pierre when we were in France.
Yeah.
So if anybody saw Out of the Fog last week, that's, you know, we happened to be in St. Pierre together. But I still see a lot of empty places.
Yeah.
Down on Water Street, down on Duckworth. Obviously, it's not the city's responsibility to make sure that these places are bustling. But you can have an impact by making it a more digestible place to do business, an easier place to do business than maybe it has been in the past. So are there thoughts towards filling that out and creating that bustle that you want?
Well, I think one of the things that you need is you need more people living down there. I think, you know, downtowns that are vibrant and that are really moving forward have people that are living in the area. And when that happens, then you see the amenities come in to support that. So we're seeing buildings like the Mix and the new Stair of the Sea, the old Stair of the Sea, the new condominiums there being built, and some other new proposals that are being brought forward. So I think that's a very important part of the revitalization. I mentioned downtown St. John's and their work in building back their business improvement association down there. Councillor Lane, who's our lead on finance, is now undertaking a kind of a business approach to how we can help businesses through our processes to prosper and to make things easier to do business.
And that makes a whole lot of sense, because there's like you can solve problems while making money.
Right. Yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'll give you an example for developers. We have a development team that meets on Wednesday afternoons. Our engineers all our different disciplines are there. And people that just have an idea, or people that are thinking about doing a development, they can make an appointment, come in and just say, look, I'm thinking about doing this on this piece of land. What are the issues that I'm going to face with that? And right there, you'll have our staff identify the real high-level issues. Like you're going to need a rezoning, or you're going to need to upsize the infrastructure in that area to get this to work. But it gives them a better idea informally on whether to go on to the next phase with that. So just doing things easy like that is great way to move the city forward.
And I can speak to that a little bit from having been in planning and development with new construction, commercial development, like through my real estate career, that it costs a lot of money to go through one of 100 steps. All the way, and at any point in time, the next step could destroy everything that happened before it.
Right.
It's a really long, arduous, and difficult process, which I think is part of the reason why sometimes we see buildings that are vacant, that have been vacant for a long time, and maybe they're becoming a little dilapidated. And unfortunately, a scatter time, historically, significant buildings end up having to be torn down. There seems to me, just intuitively, and I mean, there's so much more to it than what I'm thinking, but there has to be situations where problems that we have almost solve themselves. Like, we have a vacancy issue with some older buildings sometimes. We also have kind of a homelessness issue. Like, they sort of fit. Right?
Right. And you know, one of the things that we do get criticized for is being difficult. Like, you know, our regulations are difficult and those things. part of that is trying to give the right answer and trying to let people know up front, look, we're just being honest with you.
Yeah.
This is the issue you're going to face here. Because businesses tell us they want certainty. They want to be able to know that you know what they're dealing with, and they want to be able to anticipate some of those problems that are coming ahead. So that's what we want to do. We want to be able to identify them for us. One of the things that you know, something we're developing our economic development plan right now. I'm chairing a committee that includes representatives from the public and private sector, and we're putting together our economic development plan as for when we move forward. One of the things that's very big in that is entrepreneurship and new businesses taking advantage of our experience and our expertise in the ocean industries, and that's emerging as a huge part of our future economy. And one of the things is how do we help them prosper? How do we help them
what support can you provide?
You know, you look at the Genesis Center, which is doing
just gonna bring it
fantastic
up.
work, and I mean they're up in the Signal Hill campus, and they're already full, and so the demand is there, and the opportunities are there, and we have to take advantage of those opportunities the best we can.
Yeah. I'm going to take a quick break. This has been a lot of business-related stuff. When we come back, let's talk something, you know, a little bit about people. Okay. We'll be right back after this.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
All right, girls.
Mom, you said it's played again.
Workplace injuries hurt the most at home.
I'm not stupid. I wouldn't drink and drive. She relies on me. They're counting on me. I'd never put them in danger. But I did. And it cost me everything.
Impaired boating is impaired driving.
Welcome back, folks, to Out of the Fog. Jason Piercey here again, as always, with His Worship, Mayor Danny Breen. So we spoke a lot about business, we talked a lot about downtown, we talked a lot about revenue coming from like big long-term leases. Congratulations on a negotiation of those with, of course, the Growlers in the Edge I'm talking about. Now I want to talk about what the City of St. John's as constituents, what they say, what the feedback you get from people, what their concerns are, because you can look at it, I don't want to say top down, because it's not like you're at the top and we're at the bottom, it's more like from one side versus the other, right? So we talked a little bit about managing revenue, cash flow, looking after the infrastructure of the city. Let's talk about the stuff that people complain about.
Yeah, well, you know, I think upmost on people's minds is taxes. They want to see their taxes maintained at the current levels. They don't want to see tax
That's
increase.
not true. We want to see our taxes get
So
lowered, Mayor.
We're really
we don't want the current levels.
We're really cognizant of doing that, and that is a challenge to balance between the needs and the wants of the residents as well. So you know, we hear all kinds of things. I personally am out and about a lot, and I call it my Costco consultation. When I'm at Costco, people tell me all kinds of different things. And you know, if you go to the supermarket or the hockey game or wherever you are, you know, you hear back. You know, people have a lot of concerns, and the thing about St. John's is that it's a collection of communities, and just like it's a collection of communities, we can't solve all those problems ourselves, and we really have to create partnerships to address those issues.
And some of them aren't even municipal issues.
They're not, but we still need to take leadership, because we're expected to take leadership on those issues. So, you know, we get involved in issues like the lack of air connection to Europe. is a business development issue that's front and center for many people. And so, although we have no role to play in that per se, we do have a leadership role in bringing people together and making sure that it's front of mind.
I mean, we could go to actual France.
Right.
We could actually go to France,
right.
Danny.
That's
we really
right.
could.
Real France. So we do that. We also have, like, traffic is a big concern with people. You know, speeding, shortcutting, the road network. We, along with other municipalities on Northeast Avalon, are now participating in a project that's in the planning stages with the RNC about putting more police officers in traffic related duties.
Just exclusively traffic?
Yeah, just exclusively traffic. So we would...
I like this idea. Sorry to interrupt, but I like this idea because oftentimes you hear people complain, well, I got pulled over for doing 112. Like, there's people selling drugs to kids and you're giving me a speeding ticket. Like, go do a real job. Well, my job is to monitor traffic. I make sure that you don't run over those kids who are high.
If you were to ask any member of council about what their biggest complaint from residents was or concern, it's traffic.
Traffic.
It's speeding, it's shortcutting, especially in residential areas. So we've done a lot of work with traffic calming. We've done a lot of work in getting, putting in speed bumps in certain situations.
Roundabouts in certain situations.
Yeah, and bump outs. You'll see the bump outs on some of the new roads. But you do need more enforcement. And I think the RNC recognizes that. We recognize that. So we're going to put together that, and we're also going to be working with the RNC and using our resources through our traffic engineers to look at other measures that we can take into the future.
Has a thought ever gone into at lights? Like, sometimes you go, like, I remember once I drove through some part of Alberta years ago when I was working for a real estate investment trust, and they got me going through a green light, but too fast. And they just take the picture and you get it in the mail, and then that's it.
Photo radar is something that we've been interested in for quite some time. Of course, it's a provincial jurisdiction. The Highway Traffic Act.
Okay, so how often does this come up? Because you have stuff that's your problem, and then the province has what, the jurisdiction?
Yeah. Well, people are probably tired of me saying this, but the way it works with orders of government is the federal government has the money, the provincial government has jurisdiction, city has the problem.
Yeah.
And so we usually don't have the jurisdiction to deal with a lot of the things that the residents feel that we should be dealing with. And so that's, again, back to partnerships where we need to work with the other levels of government and community groups to address those issues.
But couldn't you just tell everybody right now on Out of the Fog who they should vote for in the coming election, because you would know who could pull off the things? Like, can't you just do that now? Isn't that your job?
No, that wouldn't be a good thing for me to do. But I will say that whoever's elected and that we need as a city to work with them, because we can't do it without them. And so who gets elected provincially or federally really doesn't matter to me. I have to work with those, and I will work with those people to make the city to address the needs that we have in the city.
I think a really good example of the type of topic that we were just talking about, where people locally have a concern that you can't really solve it. Like, it's not in. I mean, you've got city bylaws for noise after certain times, and you've got zoning for businesses in certain types of neighborhoods and stuff like that. But can we talk a little bit about some of the recent conversations around the concept of a massage parlor and a moratorium on them, sort of, that had been in place, and what this means for people who haven't been following along? Because there is there's a very human impact.
And it's one that kind of gets missed in a lot of these discussions. So back around, I think it was 2014, 2015, we had many complaints in residential areas from these massage parlors, from the area residents. So while we were developing our new development
When you
regulations,
say complaints, you mean?
People would show up early in the morning at the wrong door, or just causing problems in
Looking to engage in
neighborhood.
whatever business,
Right.
and it's just not, okay.
So we put a moratorium on new applications for massage parlors. So we had that in place while we were developing new regulations. We've now developed new regulations, but our regulations can only deal with land use and the property itself, the property
You don't
standards.
write laws.
We don't write laws, and we don't regulate those properties, same as we don't regulate the bars. The NLC, Newfoundland Liquor Corporation, licensing deals with bars. The provincial government through Service Newfoundland and Labrador takes care of restaurants. So we can take care of where they're going, and we can control the state of the building, but we can't protect the people that are working in the building. So we can't put those laws in place. So we've asked the province that, you know, we've taken care of our part of this legislation. We think the province needs to work with the community groups and the broader, the RNC and the broader community to develop regulations for the operations within those massage parlors, because the people working in there need protection as well. The protection that's needed is well known to the community groups that are involved in that area.
That makes sense. One last thing, because we only got a couple of minutes left. This has got to be something that comes up all of the time. Can we talk about snow clearing?
Yeah.
Like, my mother-in-law really wants you to get on the sidewalks over in her neighborhood because she's sick of it.
Yeah. we you know, and we've done a lot with sidewalk snow clearing over the last number of years. When I first got on council in 2009, we were doing hardly any sidewalks.
Yeah.
And now we've got a pretty good route throughout the city. We also have the practice now of doing the sidewalks the same time as we do the roads. It used to be you do the roads and then you go back and get sidewalk plows and go do the sidewalks. So we are making improvements. There's always, you know, room for improvement, and there's always complaints and things you have to deal with.
Speaking of complaints, you're moving forward on some environmental impact stuff with snow clearing, correct? Right,
yeah,
with the harbour?
Federal government has indicated that they're no longer going to let us dump snow in the harbour. And right now, primarily we remove snow from the downtown core, Water Street and Duckworth Street, for example, and then we just bring it to the harbour and dump it in. That, because of deleterious materials in the snow, that's not going to be allowed to continue. So we're going to have to look at an alternate method. And it looks like locations, for example, such as Robin Hood Bay will be a site to develop as a snow dump. That obviously has a cost impact, because rather than trucking snow to the harbour, you'll be trucking it to some other area that's a lot farther away.
So, I mean, can't you just, like, buy a bunch of, like, blow torches and just, like...
Yeah.
Like, that seems like a way more fun way to clear snow down.
Well, it does, but it's probably not going to be one that we're going to be able to do. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to truck more, because when you think about it, if you've got the equipment there blowing the snow, if you don't increase the number of trucks and you've got a longer distance to go, then you're never going to get snow
It'll
out
be
of
slow,
there.
so you need more stuff.
So you need more, and with that comes a higher cost. So we're working through the details on that now.
I am going to let it be the last thing that you said, that this comes with a higher cost, because I think that everybody who's watching will enjoy that. Mayor Danny Breen, thank you very much for coming out. Obviously, that was a joke. I know you'll do everything you can. We're going to see you guys again right after this break.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Welcome back to Out of the Fog. I enjoyed this. That's a good conversation. I think sometimes people look at our mayor, Mr. Danny Breen, and they think, you know what? He's one more old white guy. What does he know? He doesn't get it. There are things to talk about that a younger generation appreciates. But I think tonight, you may have learned he's a good human being, he's a good man, and to date, he's been a pretty good mayor. That is it for this evening. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.